So there we are recording. So I'd just like to welcome everybody to our session here, and it's called the 12 Hassles Builders Must Fix. We've got myself, we've got Paul Shelton, we've got his name's actually Richard Armstrong, but everyone calls him ProCalc-Client Budget Validator for some reason. And we've got Cornet from Biz Video. And how we'll run through this, I'll just hand it over to the first speaker, and each of those will go through their issues, and we'll leave the questions to the end. So if you've got some questions, like I will open up the chat so I can see if anyone's asking questions via chat. But what we'll do is we'll just open it up to a Q&A at the end. Let me share my screen so people can see what's going on. There we go. And so these are the sorts of things that we will be covering. We'll be talking about, how to make site admin easier, faster, and cheaper. Attract quality clients, A+ quality clients who value you, not just looking at you like a financial transaction. No, stop the underquoting. That is a massive challenge that we've noticed, and save years learning on the job. And get people engaged prior to to doing the proposals and quotes and stuff, because you can lose a lot of money. So I believe this is Cornet. Am I handing over to Cornet? Are you first?
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Welcome, mate.
Can you guys? Yeah, you guys can obviously hear me. Yeah, this. I mean, when we were brainstorming, what this webinar is going to be about, some of all these problems that we'll be talking about today is all relevant for today. So, just wanted to start with that. But yeah, with this first one, disjointed marketing creates ups and downs. This is a common problem we see a lot. We obviously talk to a lot of builders, and it always seems like for a lot of the builders, it's always up or down, feast or famine. And, one moment they have a project or multiple projects, and then the next minute they don't have anything. And then they've got to kind of kick in gear. And I could probably relate this to a story. About 2 years ago, we had a builder come to us, and at the time he was super busy. He's like, I don't have time for anything. I don't have time for marketing. I'm all good because I've got heaps of projects happening. And then about 6 months later, he came to us again, and at that point in time, he had no more projects. He was just about to finish off a couple, handover. And then we asked him what he was doing, and he was, just listening to what he was doing a lot of disjointed marketing. He was doing a few letterbox drops here, the next day he would do a few Instagram posts. He would then talk to some SEO company to start some SEO kind of campaign. And just like all these different disjointed marketing. And, in his mind, he's like, this whole thing is not working. And there's a lot of reasons why it's not working. But then he finally said to us, and he said if he could go back in time, he'd look at marketing and really look at the whole thing as a long-term thing. So really look at putting a long-term marketing system in place. A system that kind of keeps working in the background, even if he's got projects happening. So what that means is he's always getting new ideal clients aware of his business, and also always building trust and nurturing those people that is now aware of his business. And, so that I guess at the end of the day, so that when the time is right for that particular client and the builder has the capacity to actually help them, they can, take the conversation further. So the solution that we always suggest for builders is, sorry, I just had a timer go off there. Yeah, so the solution that we always suggest to builders is that you have to have a look at what does the ideal builder marketing system look like? Well, the ideal builder marketing system looks like something that, number one, it gets the attention of ideal clients, which means you need to be clear on your ideal clients first. And we always talk about that. I know Mick always talks about that as well. ProCalc, AKA Richard, he always talks about that as well. So number one is, yeah, get the attention of ideal clients. And then number two is emotionally connect with them. They need to go like, they need to see you as the builder of choice and almost be able to go like, why is this builder so different? Why do I want this builder to build for me? And then the system needs to convert them into a system so that you can follow up with them, which leads to the next thing, which is like keep nurturing them. And then within the nurturing, have offers to have further conversations. And all of this needs to happen in the background because builders are super busy. You might be busy with projects, running around on site, dealing with, team, subbies, suppliers, all these different things. You need the system to work in the background. And we've actually just released our new book called The Ultimate Builder Marketing System, and it's an audio and PDF. So what I might do is, if you guys want it, just comment in the box, maybe just comment book, please. And then what we'll do is I'll send that to you after the workshop today. It is an audio, so if you are driving and stuff, you can listen to it as well. But the PDF, it's got a lot of diagrams and it really demonstrates what the whole builder marketing system should look like. So that's that. Cool. So if you can go to the next one, Mick, that'll be great.
The third
How's
one?
my time going, Mick?
Oh, it's just about out 3 minutes.
Oh, perfect. All right, cool. So pitfall of overthinking. This is a huge one. So when system 2 hinders marketing effectiveness, I'm not sure how many of you have ever dealt with this, but you've had a client, you kicked it off great. They loved everything about your building company. You just really clicked with them. And then when you got to the details, like a detailed quote and all those kind of things like schedule and everything, they just ghosted you. Or they just made everything super hard. Like everything was just hard. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of changes all the time. And then you have to have the whole variation conversation. And a common cause for this, it might be because they went into systems 2 thinking. So at the moment, you're probably thinking, what is systems 2 thinking? There's a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I think that's what it's called. I will also probably I'll put that in the comments just so you guys have that. And the book's main point is the differentiation between the 2 modes of thought. All right. Systems 1 thinking, okay, is fast, instinctive, and highly emotional. Systems 2 thinking is slower, more deliberative, and more logical. Okay. So when clients go into that systems 2 thinking, they become like paralysis by analysis. They become super logical, and that's where things slow down. And probably a story that we're going through at the moment is my brother. So he normally sits over there, but he's just in Japan at the moment. So him and I, we started BizVideo together 12 years ago. So anyway, he's busy renovating his house. And the reason why he's renovating his house is definitely for emotional reasons. It's not an investment thing. He's not on paper going, how can I put a granny flat on this property so I can get another $300, $400, $500 a week or whatever. It's nothing like that. It's highly emotional. Him and his wife, they live in this place and they want this place to be beautiful. They've got like this 2-year-old boy, super cute. And they just want, this whole like family thing. All right. And because we've helped hundreds and hundreds of builders over the years. And he actually, it's funny, whenever builders, it's a running joke. It's like, who are you going to get to renovate for you? It's always a tough one because we're like, man, how can we pick? We can't favorite out. We can't do favoritism. Anyway, so he picked the builder that we've been working with for like over 7 years. And the one thing that I noticed, like just looking at this whole thing unraveling, is this builder kept both my brother and his wife in systems 1 thinking. So really keeping them clear on the why they are renovating. So they're not renovating to see gyprock or tiles or, the whole mess. Honestly, if they were building just to see those things happening, they will probably just not do it. So the builder, what he did was he kept using stories to keep them in systems 1 thinking, so the emotional side. And it's the ethical thing to do. Okay, so some people might go, "Oh, that's unethical," blah blah blah, but it's not, because if you kick them into systems 2 thinking, chances are that they might overthink the whole thing. They will stop the project or stall it, and they won't get what they want, which is like that family, the reason why they want to renovate their house. So the big solution here for builders is really around storytelling. So builders have to use storytelling in everything they do. So when it comes to their marketing, you need to use video stories, of yourself, your business, and also clients. Okay. In sales and quoting, you also need to use stories, also in the form of video, but then you've got to start using personal stories. So in person, when you're talking, you need to understand your client, maybe something that they are fearful of, or when they go into that systems two thinking, and you need to get them out of it by using a story, maybe of a past client or so on, to get them back onto the reason why they're building into systems one thinking. Okay. And then when you're actually building, so during the build, you can also use personal stories, because things come up all the time and you need to keep them in that systems one thinking. So yeah, that's my big suggestion. So my suggestion is read the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I've posted that in the comments. And also, if you want to learn more about this thing, we've got a podcast called Builders and Marketing Podcast. You can just search Biz Video in like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And every week we have a new podcast. So you can just subscribe there where we talk more about it. So yeah, thanks for that, guys.
Brilliant stuff. Can't agree more with that, particularly that last point there. So many builders tend to speak in logic and talking about the project and that sort of stuff. And as soon as you learn the art of telling stories and using video, it can make such a profound difference as to the connection that you make with the clients. It's very, very powerful. I'm assuming Paul is next. Now, Paul's a little bit snuffed up. So he's not 100%, but he said he's going to bring his A game anyway. And so Paul is representing Hazard Co, which is all around health and safety. So over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Mick. Much appreciated. Just to start off with, if everyone who actually uses Hazard Co at the moment, if you could just put a 1 in the chat box, just to get a bit of an understanding as to who uses our system right now. Because what I wanted to go through is just 3 little quick points around health and safety. It's not the fun thing to do, health and safety. I haven't met a builder yet that wakes up in the morning and loves to do their health and safety in their business. You'd be surprised by that one, Mick. But first thing is, like, health and safety is too hard. I hear this a lot. Health and safety is too hard, and I can tell you it is. It absolutely is if you're going to do it the old way, right? 45% of building companies out there don't even have a health and safety system in place, which is a pretty scary sort of number, when we understand, like what can happen if accidents happen on a job site. But from the 55% that actually remain and do have a system, 28% still have paper-based systems, health and safety systems. So what that says, like, why is it too hard? I'm going to suggest here that very few of you, if any, have actually ever read the health and safety regulations from start to finish. The book's bigger than the Bible. So if you have read it, congratulations. But I guess if you haven't read it, why haven't you read it? Again, it's probably because when you got into construction, you didn't get into construction to be a health and safety expert, right? You got into construction to build homes, to help your customers, to work with your hands, to run a business. Like, health and safety was certainly not at the top of the list, I wouldn't think, So I guess what people do for you is they hire you to be the expert in the job that you do. They hire you to build their home, to talk them through what's required in terms of having a beautiful home. So it doesn't need to be hard. It really doesn't. And there's really sort of 2 major things that you want to try and do straight away to make things not hard. When you're scaling a business, I believe that there's 2 areas to it. It's you need to have digital systems and you need to have people. Like, they're the 2 major areas that you need to focus on in order to scale a business and to do things more efficient. So the first thing that I suggest you need to do is whichever way you need to have a digital health and safety system, right? You need to remove the paper from your business, because that's one of the reasons why it's too hard, because no one wants to do paper. No one wants to do paperwork. And when we have processes like that are too hard, then they just either don't get done or they get pushed to the side. The second thing, once you have digitized it, is you need to find an expert that actually really understands the regulations and the legislation. there's a book, Who Not How. I suggest you go and Corner. You may remember, or even Richard, you may remember who writes that book.
Dan Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan, mix all over it. Fantastic book. And what it is like, you don't need to be a health and safety expert. Like, that is a myth that you need to be that. You need to work with someone who is in your business, and then you need to digitize that. So a couple of tips there on actually how to make health and safety not so hard. If we want to go to the next one there, Mick. So I want to sort of touch on a couple of areas here where there's a certain number of documents that are legally required when it comes to doing health and safety. First of all, SWIMs for high-risk construction activities. You must have SWIMs. Like, they are legally required documents, and they must be for everyone that is on your job site. Incident registers are a legally required document. Communication processes like toolbox meetings, documentation processes like site reviews and risk assessments. But one of the most important documents on your job sites as a principal contractor is your site-specific safety plan, or a work health and safety management plan, or a work health and safety coordination plan, depending on what state you're in. Now, what the site-specific safety plan is it's an overarching plan of how safety is done and I suppose how it will work on your job site. It's going to outline all the roles, the responsibilities, and the expectations on how you as the principal contractor manages or wants safety managed on your job site. Because understand, whether you like it or not, the legislation comes back on you as the principal contractor. So you must be right across this. You must be a leader in the industry and a leader on your job site to make sure you're in control of this. Now, it's different in different states. So in Victoria, you need a health and safety or a site-specific safety plan for any project over 350,000. In South Australia, it's over 450,000. In Northern Territory, it's over 500,000. Queensland, New South Wales, Tassie and ACT are over 250,000. And in WA, has to be different, but it's for all sites with 5 or more people on site, which is most sites. So you can see why you want to have someone in your business or someone who can work with you that understands these regulations, because they're different in different states. Okay, so a couple of key things about site-specific safety plans and why they take too long really is, firstly, they can't just be templated in terms of, here's my template, I'm going to change the address at the top and roll it out. The compliance and the legislation changes so regularly, okay, and they need to be site-specific. All right, what we do at Hazard Co is we've got a system that literally a digital system that just generates these site-specific safety plans literally in a couple of minutes. In 2 minutes, you've got one. And the reason why it doesn't take very long is because it's everything you need and nothing you don't. Okay, if you're doing residential construction, there are certain things that you need in residential construction that are not needed in commercial construction, and there's a lot more in commercial construction that is actually needed. So what we focus on is, again, everything you need and nothing you don't. You need a digital system that's just going to knock these out really quickly and understand what type of job you're doing and where you are in the country. If you can flick through the next one, please, Mick. So contractor engagement. This is a process, and it seems like it's everything to do with health and safety. It just takes too long, and if you're doing it the old way, it will take too long. So by law, a principal contractor must be collecting, reviewing, and storing all licenses, insurances, policies, registrations, white cards, all those sorts of things for all the subcontractors that work on their job site. Now, you think, why do I have to do all this stuff? Other than it's the legislation, and we seem to have a lot of that in this country, the number one reason, or one of the major reasons, I should say, is we need to make sure that everyone that is working on your job site is qualified and compliant to do the required work that's in front of them. If something does go wrong, and yes, they may have been qualified, but their licenses has expired, it comes back on you as the principal contractor. Like it or not, the majority of the liability comes back on you. And what we try and do at Hazard Co is we can't remove the liability that you have. We can reduce it. And the way we reduce it is by sharing that responsibility. We need to really share that with people out there. Now, getting all this documentation can be hard, right? It's painful for you, and it's painful for your subbies too. So if you would like some sort of admin nightmare, then I suggest you keep trying to do it a manual way, a manual process to manage all these documents and the expiry dates. if you would like a process that literally halves the time that you spend trying to collect all these things, it literally automates the process and notifies not only you, but also your subcontractors as to when things have expired and are we compliant? Have we got things up to date? Then again, you need to go back and get a digital system. At Hazuko, we have a full contractor management process, and it's automated for you and also your subcontractors. And what it really allows you to do, allows you or your admin people to spend more time doing dollar productive activities, to spend more time working with Cornet on getting more customers, right? To spend more time on doing the quotes that you got to do or managing the jobs, the stuff which is really going to bring dollars in the door. So that's three hassles that we come across very regularly when it comes to health and safety. And that's about it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. One of those parts of the business that reminds me of where I first started, when I first started selling life insurance. It's one of those things that everybody needs. I know everyone's jealous. As soon as I mention that I used to sell life insurance, you can see people's face, like they all go, "Oh, so envious. I wish I could have done that," you know, because I know it's the dream for most people to be able to have a career selling life insurance, but not everybody can do it. So, you know, I'm just one of the lucky ones. I don't do it anymore. I've made space for other people to enjoy the process. So, going to speak to Mr. ProCalc Client Budget Validator, otherwise known as Richard Armstrong, who I think has created something, at least for the builders that we work with, it's become invaluable because there's so much of a disconnect between what people believe they can get for a budget that they've been given by their designer or their architect or what have you. And the gap between that and the reality of things is just ever widening, and using something like ProCalc to do a feasibility study before you get started, it's just been a game changer. So over to you, Mr. ProCalc Client Budget Validator.
Thanks, Mick. You can hear me and see me okay, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Look, you're welcome to call me ProCalc Client Budget Validator. That's absolutely fine. I'll answer to that as well. One of the things that we talked about, as Cornet touched on earlier, was when we were workshopping the content of this workshop. When you talk to different builders, and we have spoken to, we've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of them. We've done interviews with them about the way they engage with clients or the way they don't engage with clients as well. And what really came through is that most clients, in their mind, there are two kinds of builders. So one is a trusted expert, and the other one is just another builder. Okay, so the trusted expert is the one who's going to win the job. They're the preferred builder. The client loves them. They think they're great. The one who's just another builder, that's the one that the client calls in late in the process to check pricing, and you know, they're basically a price checker. So for those of you, and like yourselves, I'm a builder. I have been the price checker, and it's not a nice place to be. So, you know, you can be standing there talking with the client. You can give them some really sensible, smart advice where you say, look, this is going to be a big issue for you on this project. And they go, yeah, no worries. How much do you charge? That's it. That's their response. Or they parade you through a job and they walk you past another builder as you're going in to meet them for the first time. And they've deliberately engineered that process so that you know it's about price. So they have this real preoccupation about price. And then when you finally do put in hours and hours of work and you know, send the price through to them, they then ghost you. They don't pick up your phone calls. They don't, you know, respond to your emails, which for me personally, and I've talked with Cornet about this before a lot, I hated that. I absolutely used to hate that. And so really the question is, how do you transition from being just another builder to a trusted expert? And with the trusted expert, there are really two key things. There's the trust and there's the expert. So if you think about the way that humans build trust, they initially will take on a small risk with someone. And if that small risk comes off, then they'll take on a bigger risk. And so for builders, that typically looks like, if you think back to when you first started building, if you're looking at, say you're building pergolas, you might have been doing some bathrooms, whatever it may be, those clients, when you had a good working relationship with them and you did a good job, they would reach back back out to you a few years later and say, hey, can you come and have a look at this extension that we're doing that's, that's worth 500, 600, 700 grand, whatever it may be. And so that is a really good illustration of the way clients build trust with builders. So they do these incremental and growing transactions with them. The other part of it is actually about becoming an expert in their eyes. And Mick, I'll get you to flick on to the next slide. And what happens when you first meet with a client on site, they actually have a whole series of questions that they need answered. And they can't progress in their process until they've actually got an understanding of these particular items. And this is where you can showcase your expertise and charge for it too, by the way. So the first thing is that they need to understand the buildability of their design, okay? They need to work out, they need a builder's input on whether it can be done. They need advice about the site suitability for what they're trying to achieve. They also need to understand the likely cost of their project, and that's what ProCalc does. So it helps you eliminate the tire kickers, and they get an understanding of the cost. So that's really key. The next thing that they also need, if it's a renovation, they also need some sort of structural assessment. So that might involve, having a look in the roof with a torch or under the house or whatever it may be. And some of them even need a concept design. Now, the important thing to remember here is that while, say, 30% of builders will charge for quotes and they'll provide a preliminary agreement and all that sort of thing, there's actually the opportunity to charge earlier in the process in your very first meeting with a client. And by providing them with information that we've talked about just now, all of those, the buildability, the site suitability, the likely budget, structural assessment, and a design if it's needed, what you're doing is you're actually helping them understand what they need to go through. They're engaging in a small transaction with you. You might charge, you might charge $99 for your time. You might charge $699 for your time, entirely up to you. But the point is, make sure they pay, because then what they're doing is that they are spending a little bit of money with you, and then they're actually on the pathway to growing trust with you. The benefit of all this is that it flips around that conversation about you're not selling to them, you're actually providing them with your expertise. And so that means that you're not feeling like a salesperson, you're actually going in there, you're answering their questions, and you're doing it in a genuine, honest way where you're helping them. And so what that does is it achieves the trusted expert that I was talking about earlier. So what I'll do is I'll make sure from the list of people attending, we'll actually flick around a template that will actually help you step through this and show you how to do this. So that'll be included. Mick, I'll just get you to move on to the next thing. Just in all of the interviews that we've done with builders, what we've seen is that the extent of builders getting their pricing wrong or their margins wrong or underquoting and all that sort of thing, it's prolific. There are so many builders that are charging less than they should be. I suspect probably about 60% of builders are underpricing their jobs. In all of the research that we've done, we've seen that builders' margins will float between 13 and 33%. Okay, so for example, a regional builder who's doing project builds, they would be at the lower end of that scale. But someone who's doing bathroom renovations or on tight sites, 2 kilometres from the CBD in a capital city, they would be at the higher end of that scale. So it's really a case of horses for courses for the margin. So that's one thing that affects margin. The other is your business structure. So if you've got quite a few overheads, you've got people in the office, you've got office rent, that sort of thing, that will affect it. If you're just a sole builder who works from home and is on the tools themselves, that will also affect the margin and pushes it in the other way. The other part of it too are your goals. So if you've got grand plans for your retirement, you need to actually take those desires and those financial objectives and fold them into your pricing now. Okay, so now's the time to start planning your retirement. If you're 25 years old, now is actually the time. Okay, so you can actually start feathering your nest now and informing your retirement funds. The other thing that builders often struggle with their pricing is actually factoring in their project management and their site setup fees. So often builders will look at the materials and they'll look at the direct costs of their subbies and that sort of thing, but they don't cover the costs of their own time, all the site setup. There are so many overheads that come into a builder's business that they need to factor those in. Another one is job source. So if a job's come from an architect, the margins on that will need to be higher than they would be from, for example, if the job came from a developer. Okay, so it's a very different price structure that you would work from. In the middle there is actually if the homeowner came directly to you and was asking for a price. The final one that I've got here is just contract type. If you, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with ADIC contracts, it's an architectural contract. The way that they are administered and the risks that occur for a builder are quite significant. So it's really important to factor those elements in comparison to, say, an MBA and an HIA contracts, which have other different sort of risks attached to them. So look, if you would like to test your pricing, so ProCalc actually factors all of these elements into the pricing to keep the safety rails on. And if you'd like to test your pricing, we're going to send out a free trial link to you, whereby you can actually tap into it, do a trial with it, understand where your pricing sits in comparison to all the other builders in your area, because we've basically got data from 10,000 builders, 10,000 builders quotes right across Australia. So we've got a really good data set, which means that you can then use it to check whether a client can afford your services and also to check your pricing against the marketplace. So I'll send that round shortly. Thanks,
Don't
Mick.
call me shortly. I don't like it. I can concur with a couple of those points. So when a builder joins Builders Business Black Belt, we actually put them through a financial health check with a Profit First professional. And we've been doing that for a number of years now, and very, very few have had the right margins and have been charging for their own time and for project management and things like that. If you've ever read the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, and in that, basically profit is cash in a bank account that isn't used for anything else other than, you know, I guess rewarding you for your risk and sacrifice and everything for running your own business. It's not the entry on a profit and loss statement. When we do that health check, not one builder in the last sort of 4.5 years of us doing this has made $1 of profit. So there's a lot of opportunity to improve the financial performance of a builder's business by doing this sort of thing. And as I said, I can't tell you the difference it's made to the builders we've been working with, where they've used ProCalc to do some sort of initial feasibility study to just see whether the budget that they've got in mind is somewhere in line with what they thought, or what it actually costs, and it can be really, really accurate. So a valuable thing to do. Reach out and do that free trial. I couldn't recommend it highly enough, because our guys just, it's made a massive difference. So what I'm talking about, folks, is the hassles that we've found, and this is something that we're concentrating on a lot with our builders at the moment, is the biggest problem that builders have, and I'm saying builders because pretty much everyone here is a builder, but this can be overlaid over pretty much all small business. But the biggest problem that they have is they don't know what their biggest problem is. And therefore, we can waste a lot of time, energy, effort, and money chasing after the apparent problem. So just for a quick exercise, can everyone jump into the chat real quick and just write a dot point, if you like, just in a few words, what is the biggest problem that you have in your business? Now, you've probably got more than one. You might have two, but and sometimes it's difficult to go, geez, what's my biggest problem? What's the number one problem? But what's the one that comes into your mind straight away as putting the most pressure on you at the moment? What's the number one issue? Someone's asked for the Profit First. I'm assuming that word means author, but they type like me, leaving a few letters out. His name's Mike Michalowicz. I can spell it, but I won't. But if you just Google Profit First, you'll find Mike in there. So someone's saying workflow, subcontractors holding pricing. What do you mean by that, Adam? Just real quick, can you unmute and just tell me what you mean by that? If you're there. I mean, Adam.
Yeah. In other words, quoting the job
Yep.
and just say, in 3 months' time, we awarded them a job, and then obviously they say, well, we're getting affected by price rises and
they
stuff.
put
If
the
you want
price
me
up.
to attend to your job, it's going to be another 5%.
Yeah.
And obviously, with the current market trying to find additional help, your kind of hands are tied to, pay the money or let your job run over contract.
Yeah. So they're sort of holding you over a barrel with that one.
Yep.
David's Livorno. Oh, that's his computer. David's Livorno. That's the type of computer he's got. Finding good trades. Jeff charging for expert advice. How much money in the business account is ours versus profit versus others? Again, get into the Profit First book. That will sort you out big time in relation to that. So you will know exactly how much money is yours. James, being priced out of the market with builders that are under quoting. Yep. Marketing, says Craig. Clients expecting more than what they're paying for. That's what we were kind of talking about before. Doing that thing with ProCalc can certainly have a massive impact on that before you end up wasting your time or they get pissed off. So that's a brilliant tool there. Local council delays, don't get me started. Access to good subbies, making the right choice, finding the right client. So you can see that there's just a ton of different issues that come up when you're a builder. And the issue is that there actually is an order in which somebody should build their business so it doesn't cause bigger problems in the future, and it's got a stable base to build on. It's kind of, I'm sure that there's plenty of people on this call that understand the value and the importance of a foundation, right? You don't build your house on the sand in the summer, as Jim Rohn would say. The foundation is super, super important. And quite often when you are building your business, many of the foundational activities aren't that sexy. They aren't that much fun, and they don't press upon you. They don't come into your mind and create a sense of urgency for you to fix them until they cause a problem down the track. So there is actually a hierarchy of building your business in the right order. And I don't know whether anybody here has ever heard of Maslow, Abraham Maslow. He's got this thing called the hierarchy of human needs. And it basically talks about that all humans need to satisfy the need for breathing, oxygen, air and water before they're worried about safety. And then they need to become safe. They need to be in a safe environment before they worry about being part of a community and all of this sort of stuff. So there is a hierarchy of these needs. And Mike Michalowicz, again, the same guy who wrote Profit First, wrote another book called Fix This Next. Highly recommend it. And he has created what you would term the hierarchy of business needs. And what it's basically outlining is what is the equivalent for a business to air. So the basic human need for us is air and water and food. What is the equivalent to that for a business? And it ends up that it's cash creation, making sales, creating cash. And there are some core needs in that cash creation level that you must address and make sure that they are working effectively in your business before you go to some of the things up in the higher levels. The next level up is profit protection, which is kind of the equivalent of the hierarchy of human needs and safety. So it's creating a safety net, a financial safety net. Anybody here, just give me some jazz hands in your camera there, if you've had any challenges financially at any stage, perhaps even now with your business. Anybody? Jason Kearns is waving his hands. You need to work on your jazz hands there, Jason. They're not, you got to get sparkly fingers for jazz hands. But pretty much every business has a challenge financially. And there are some fundamental things that you can implement that create safety for you financially. And then, of course, the next level up is what we call buying back time. And that is something that a lot of people tend to focus on because, again, if you waved at me in your camera, there'd be plenty of you that wish they had more free time, like that you have become to some level a prisoner of the business. And if there is an opportunity to get a software platform or some sort of virtual assistant or employ another person to take the load off you, we tend to go for that. But what we've found, almost every time a builder does that, they've done it too early and they haven't prepared for it. They haven't prepared with creating the cash creation foundation, so systemizing the way that cash comes into the business. Because guess what, folks? If you can systemize the way that cash comes into the business and you don't have to worry about it anymore, that is one huge worry that disappears. And I absolutely believe, and give me a nod and a wink if you find the same thing, that financial distress is the worst distress. It seems to magnify every other problem you've got. If you've got some work problems, if you've got team problems, if you've got relationship problems, if you've got health problems, and you've got financial distress, everything seems far worse. But if you don't have financial distress, the intensity of those other problems seems to dissipate. So figuring out how to alleviate the financial distress from your business first is absolutely critical. So you need to figure out which hassle you need to look at first, and there is a process for it. And again, like, we've created a thing called the Black Belt Compass, and it's only a fairly new thing. We've created it for our Black Belt members, but you can just go and read Mike Michalowicz's Fix This Next book. The other option is that we have an environment called the Tool Shed, and it's a free environment. You can come join the environment. There's a whole bunch of other builders in there. There's a ton of resources in there, and you can ask these questions. If you want to figure out, what do I need to work on next, you can just have a conversation in that environment, and we can help you figure out what you need to do next. But the importance of doing this and figuring out which hassle first is, it's kind of like, I think we use the analogy of a compass. So that's why we called it the Black Belt Compass. But then you've got your skills and abilities, and your instincts. And your instincts and skills and abilities are really valuable to negotiate the terrain. So when there's a problem in your business, you use your skills, abilities, and instincts to come up with a solution to that problem, which is wonderful. And if you've got good instincts, that's terrific. And the analogy is you're navigating your way through the terrain, through the bush, and you've got good skills, so you're moving quite quickly. But folks, what if you're moving in the wrong direction? What if you're going in completely the wrong direction? You need a compass. And that's what we've created with the Black Belt Compass. And again, you can find like a generic version of that in the Fix This Next book by Mike Michalowicz, and you can make your own. But my point here today for you is that you must have a process that takes the emotion out of your decision making, so you can use this process to identify which direction I need to go in. If you can understand, if you've just got a compass and no instincts, you might be going in the right direction, but you'll be very, very slow. So you're negotiating the terrain and you're doing it quite slowly. If you've got really good instincts and skills, you're negotiating the terrain really efficiently. You're moving quite quickly. But if you're in the absence of a compass, you might be going in completely the wrong direction. So you're wasting all of that energy and you're actually going further away from where you want to go. So when you have both, that's the secret. Having a compass to help you make the right decision, and then having a community like we've got a free community in the Tool Shed where you can tap into their knowledge and their skills and their experience to help you refine your skills, abilities, and your instincts. So you've got to have both. What that does is it helps you identify the difference between a major hassle and a minor hassle. And there are activities and actions you can be taking in your business that will make a big difference. And there are activities that will make a little difference. But some of those ones that make a little difference can be dressed up and create a massive sense of urgency and distress, and it captures your attention. So that's where you put your energy. And that's you negotiating the territory in the wrong direction. So you've got to have that compass to help you make the decisions as to what to do next, and then use your skills and instincts to be able to negotiate that territory. So I hope that makes sense. It's just a really different way of doing it. And if you can build the skill and build yourself a tool to be able to, every time you need to figure out what I need to be doing this week, what's my priority this week, you should have a tool to help you make that decision as to what you need to be putting your energy and effort into, rather than just being pushed around by emotion and circumstances. So identifying what your biggest problem is at any given time is an absolute game changer. Happy to help you with it. All you need to do is jump in the tool shed. After this, I'll send you out a link where you can come in and join, and you can ask all of the questions that you'd like. So at this point, we've kind of covered an absolute heap of territory with these 4 different ideas, or 4 different people, and 12 hassles. Can you put in the chat there any questions that you might have, and direct them to who you would like to answer that question? If you've got any comments, if you want any clarification, just jump into the chat, or just unmute your mic and blurt out your question for us. And we'll see if we can give you some answers to point you in the right direction. So it'd also be good for you to jump into the chat and write down, what was your insight from any of the 4 presentations that you've seen here today? What's an insight that you've taken away that would be valuable for you? So Ben's asked a question, and I guess I can hand that over to Richard. Best way to charge for your time? ASAP. You need to unmute, Richard.
So, so by that, when you say ASAP, I'm interpreting what you mean by that, Ben, is actually as early in the process as you can. So hopefully tomorrow. But the idea is that when you first meet face to face with a client and you're meeting with them on site, you've got to give them something of value, and then they will give you something of value back. So the template that I'll circulate after the webinar is actually one that you can populate yourself, give that to them as a report. So it covers everything from the fees, from the buildability, the feasibility, the site suitability, also the structural assessment, all of those things. And so really what you want to do is be able to be on site with them for not more than an hour, give them the opportunity to do some Q&A with you, get to know you, but give them a document. So give them that document. Also give them you can do a free ProCalc report and just give them that as well. And that way the client is walking away going, hey, I've got these 2 reports that Ben's put together for me. They're both professionally formatted. They look great. I know that the information's good. I got value out of that engagement. Now, for those who are on the call that are nervous about charging for the very first time that you meet a client, what we have found is that most builders, they start off by charging a very small amount for that first meeting. It might only be $99. Okay. And so if it's made clear to the client that they're going to walk away with a report about their project and also a feasibility report, it means that they actually come away from it knowing that they're going to get good value out of it for $99. Now, if a client balks at $99 for 1 hour of your time and 2 reports, that will generally cost, if they were to do it through an architect or an estimator, it would cost them thousands. If they're balking at $99, maybe they're not really going to be a good client. And so I would argue that if they're really going to squeal with $99, maybe they may not be a good fit. You need to sort of move on and be comfortable with that. As you get more confident, though, you can take it from $99 to $199. I got to a stage in my own business where for that first meeting, I was literally charging just under $2,000. Okay. So I really bundled all of that together. As long as the client understands that they're getting good value out of the engagement and they're getting really good support from you, it is absolutely doable. So, so Ben, I hope that answers your question.
Good answer. Danielle needs life insurance. Unfortunately, I'm not in the game anymore, but but I can give you a referral. I don't know why you need life insurance on this call, but anyway, I'll just quickly add to that, Ben, because it's a really good question, and it's something that pops up all the time, and it's a real confidence thing that we can't charge for quotes because the next guy's going to do it for free and we won't get the work. That is such a common response to this, and it's completely wrong. There's a whole bunch of psychology that you can understand that when something, even two things that look identical, and one is at a higher price than the other, that higher price one always sells first. That's just part of human psychology. But what happens is builders tend to have this price focus, so they drag the client into the price focus, and so it all becomes that. But the secret to being able to be paid for what we call a professionally prepared proposal is partly in the name that I just mentioned there, because if you say that we charge for our quotes, what that does is goes into the person's mind and they think, oh, well, I'm paying for something that I've previously gotten for free. That's not a good deal. Whereas if you present it so it's completely different, it's a completely different process, and you tell the story like Corné was telling us, we've got to tell the story of what will happen by using the standard garden variety process that most builders use. These are all of the problems you're going to run into. These are the extra costs that it's going to be a surprise through the project because we didn't work it out properly in the beginning. We've found by calling it a professionally prepared proposal and talking about how it's put together versus how normally the free quotes are put together, it's kind of like when you go to your favorite restaurant and the prices have gone up. Nothing's changed, the prices have gone up. You get a bit pissed off. But if you go to your favorite restaurant and when you walk in the door, there's someone greeting you at the door and they say, you know, Paul, great to see you. We've made some changes and we'd really love your feedback after you've had your meal. And you walk in and they've changed the menu. They say they've got all new lovely organic ingredients. They've got a sommelier there that matches the wine with your food. They've got someone playing some music in the corner. They've rejigged the environment and they've changed the experience completely. And the prices are higher. If that whole complete experience is very different, people don't even worry about that price being higher. And when you can present a professionally prepared proposal and all its value versus I'm just doing a quote and I'm charging you for it, two completely different animals in your prospect's mind. So you've got to present it differently and do what Richard said and tell stories like Corné said. Somebody asked a question. Where was it? Keeping reliable subcontractors. So what's happening there? How do I pronounce your name? Is it Wally or Whale?
Yeah, you're correct, Wally.
See, I got it right the first time.
Good one.
So what's the issue? You just, the subcontractors keep bailing on you even though you're paying them on time?
Yeah, it's just been issues with them having to keep the reliable ones because they're probably getting paid or somewhere else, and they just not want to turn up for the jobs, and you know, same issues every time. You have to get somebody else to do the job again. So
who can answer this one?
I can
jump in.
Probably offer a comment there, Mick.
Yep.
I think one of the things that we're seeing in the marketplace, Wally, is that trades that are involved in the early stages of build. So as you guys all know, the market is shifting. Trades that are involved in the early stages of the build have got a different mindset to those who are involved in the finishing. So trades like tiles, painters, tilers, painters, carpet layers, all those sorts of trades, they're still riding the wave. They're still doing nicely. Whereas if you talk to concreters, framers, people, plumbers, those that are earlier in the process, in the build process, they're beginning to get some visibility of what's coming over the hill. And so as builders, we can all see that there's, there's a softening in the marketplace. So what I'm wondering, Wale, is that it sounds as though you're still sort of struggling with the demand for trades, and obviously it changes in every state. But I'm wondering whether those trades that are challenging, whether they're actually the finishing trades or the starting trades.
You're correct. It's actually the starting trades, like the concreter and the carpenters as well.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So look, I think what's happening is that, and this is, and we are starting to see this in the marketplace more and more, is that there is beginning to be a fair bit of pushback on subbies about their pricing, about their delivery, about their, about the way that they engage and the way that they work. So there's, whilst it's been a bit of a party over the last 2 years for them, I suspect that we're now beginning to see some of those changes come into the marketplace.
Good answer. There's another question in here, finding good leads without paid advertising. And I would just like to chime in real quick with both the answer to what Wale was after there, and Ben saying finding good leads without paid advertising. And I just want to, without giving you an answer, because the answer to it is quite a long-winded answer. There's a few moving parts to it. But I'd just like to put that on the table as an example of what I was talking about these apparent problems. And so I haven't got good leads. I haven't got the money to pay for advertising, might be the situation. I'm struggling to find subcontractors. So we need to have, and we need to prioritize activity in our business that is actually building better relationships, trust and connection with both our subcontractors and our current and past clients. Because if we've got systems and processes in our businesses that are focusing on continuing to deliver value to our subcontractors, continuing to deliver value to our current and past clients, those past and current clients become part of your marketing team. And that is one of the best ways to generate leads without paid advertising, is creating relationships and continuing to deliver value to your past clients after the handover. In fact, a good friend of mine says the sale starts at handover. And so it's not something that is present in our thinking until it becomes a problem. So if we've got lots of work, we don't prioritize how we can blow our clients' minds by little surprises and under promising and over delivering and really delivering on their experience. One thing that we talk about all the time is that the building, the extension, the renovation, the house is not your product. Your product is the quality of your client's experience. And as soon as you believe that, some of your effort every day is then focused on improving your product. How do we improve the quality of our client's experience? And if you start to systemize that, and if you start to make it part of your daily thought and actions to create improvements to their experience, you will find that leads, high quality leads, will start to come into your business. But it's not a fast thing. It's a slow burn. It may take 12 to 24 months before it really starts to get traction, but it's not something you can do at the last minute and then get leads from it. It's something that needs to be part of your everyday activity and thinking to improve the quality of the experience of your clients. At some stage in the future, you'll be termed lucky. Look at that lucky bastard, because he keeps getting all these good people coming to them. It's because of all of the work that you did previously. Exactly the same thing will happen with subcontractors as well. And I don't want to turn this into a workshop about that, but it's an apparent problem that can be fixed by things that you do in how you communicate, how you support them, and how you acknowledge them, and what they do and appreciate them. And you will find that they will prioritize you as their builder when you start to do that. take it away from a financial transaction relationship and turn it into an actual relationship of respect and acknowledgement. And you'll find that, you know, they'll be far, far more loyal. We've got a whole bunch more questions. Unfortunately, we've kind of come to the end of our time here, but I'm sure that if you've got questions, what we'll make sure that we contact you after. There'll be a replay, so we'll send you out a link to the replay of this if you want to go back over any part of it. We'll also, you know, Corné will send you out his stuff. Paul's got some stuff. Richard's got some stuff. We'll send you out all of the links to that. And if you've got any questions that you want to ask after that, everybody's in your corner. Everybody will be here to answer your questions. All you need to do is reach out and ask us. Any final comments or input from Paul, Richard, or Corné before we bail?
Just one thing. I think it's probably just a bit of a pat on the back for everybody who rocked up, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, the vision of your business is only limited by your own vision. And so if tapping into this sort of thing expands your own vision, then that's awesome. And there's no better investment than you can make than in yourself. So pat on the back for showing up.
Yes, well done, well said. Any final words, Paul?
No, I was just going to quickly say, you're talking about subcontractors, and even a bit of what Richard was saying there. It's about leadership in the industry, which is clearly why you guys are here. Like, you're looking to grow, and you're looking to be a leader. And we know in what we do, you know, just touching on the subcontractors, they can push back on you, and they can be hard to deal with sometimes. And what we're finding, and absolutely the market is changing around that, as Richard was saying. What we know is the business owners who are a lot more organised, a lot more professional, and act like leaders in the industry get a lot more respect from their subcontractors, and their subcontractors actually want to do more work with them because they know that I can just follow the process. So well done to everyone for turning up again. You're really showing that you're a leader in the industry. Well done.
Spot on. Final words from Mr. Corné.
Thank you, mate. I disagree with Paul. Like, it's like the market is moving all the time.
Yeah.
If you don't upskill yourself, entropy kicks in. You know, everything is always in entropy. If you don't, you know, evolve the system, your business, everything else like that, it will decline. So it's awesome that you guys are showing up, and yeah, even if you just got one small thing out of it, go take action and yeah, apply it to your business. But yeah, thanks for Mick, Paul, and Mr. ProCalc himself.
Thanks, Corné. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Paul. I just would echo those remarks. Well done for showing up. The best investment you can is in yourself. You take it with you wherever you go. And I can guarantee you an hour invested thinking about and expanding your mind about some of these ideas will bring you far more value to your business down the track than an hour spent on the tools or behind the computer or working in or on your business. So well done for doing that. I'm sure we'll be back with some more stuff in the not too distant future. But please make sure you're not the standard Australian that just won't put their hand up and ask for help, because I know for sure and certain that every one of the presenters here today is here because they want to contribute to the betterment of the industry. And if we can support you, if we can help you, if we can guide you to better ways of doing things, and you can come back to us and reach out to us and ask questions to clarify so you can implement these ideas, we will positively affect the industry. And when, you know, the rising tide raises all boats, and if we can improve the professionalism, the systemization, communication skills of everybody in the building industry, it's going to be better for absolutely everybody, and that's what we're all here to do. So thank you for participating in that. Thank you for showing up and giving us an hour of your time. I hope it was worthwhile. We will be back with another one of these sessions in the not too distant future. Keep an eye on your inbox. We'll be sending you all of the stuff that we promised you in the next day or so. Have a great rest of the week. It was a pleasure being here with you today. Bye for now.